These are the only 12 Pokemon in the 6 different roles you need to be playing in current patch on Pokemon Unite. I'm going to start with our supporters. We've got Eldegoss. You take Eldegoss to the top lane, you run an EXP share and a muscle band. These are the non-negotiable items. The third item is flexible. You can go a Resonant Guard, or you could potentially go a Focus Band or a Rapid Fire Scarf. Those would probably be the items that I would be running on this Pokemon, and I would always be running an eject button. Potentially, if you're going a rapid fire and a muscle band, you could go an X attack. Now, the skills that I think are the best are Pollen Puff and Cotton Guard. Pollen Puff provides crazy amount of support for your team. It's a skill shot heal that also does damage, and it's AoE heal, and it's a huge burst of healing, and it's got a really low cooldown, which is amazing. And Cotton Guard provides your entire team with quite a large shield, and you actually heal some of that shielding afterwards. And when you actually level it up at level 13, which honestly is probably not going to happen, you provide your team a movement speed increase who get that shield, which is very, very valuable. Eldegoss evolves at level 4, which is fantastic. Now, Eldegoss evolves at level 4, and he doesn't get any critical hit striking. He has quite a good ability where it does some revenge damage based on the special attack that you guys can do. His auto attack is really, really annoying. His boosted auto does extra damage, and it also, where is it right here? Eldegoss's auto attacks hit them with a fluff, and it decreases their movement speed by 30%. That's a big movement speed decrease, especially if you can put the red buff on this Pokemon. So that's why it's very good to have the muscle band, because you want to be spamming those autos. He's got quite good range for a supporter. And if we have a look at his stats, notice he power spikes really well at level 4. So he almost doubles his special attack, which is, well, he doubles it and a bit more. And he gets cooldown reduction at level 5 and at level 10, and it doesn't spike any further from that. So level 4 is this big power spike, and so is level 9 because he gets that Unite move. But you also notice level 12, he gets quite a big jump there from there to there. It's like 500 almost. So any jump from level 11 to 12 to 13 is great. You will never be hitting 14 or 15 until the very end of the game with Eldegoss. So the second supporter that I would strongly recommend using, you take it to the top lane, it is Hoopa. Again, it's got this crazy level 4 skill, which provides insane mobility and map control. Hoopa, although it's been nerfed, in my opinion, is it's still probably the best supporter in the game. It's just, its functionality, it can't be nerfed unless if you honestly rework the Pokemon, or you take the cooldowns to just be enormously high. So it's just too good. Honestly, it's too good. EXP share and muscle band are your non-negotiables. I like the Resonant Guard. However, you could consider using a Focus Band, or you could flex into an attacking item if you wanted to be a little bit on the greedier side there. That's totally up to you. I would run an eject button, and you use this Pokemon with the Hyperspace Hole and Phantom Force, and honestly, these are just two great skills. Amazing mobility. You can trick the enemies by dashing around and getting through your portals and supporting your team and going from top lane to bottom lane. As well as being a ranged supporter, it's incredibly valuable. You can support from the back line, you can dash into the front line, you can shove the enemies away, and its Unite move is absolutely pivotal. It can change and completely swing fights. I would highly recommend getting on top of Hoopa in this patch. I'm going to move on to two defenders. So our first one would be Umbreon. Umbreon is absolutely incredible. You take this Pokemon to the bottom lane and you run it with Foul Play and Snarl. The reason why you go Foul Play over Mean Look in a solo queue is because you need to have that dashing mobility to get yourself out of bad situations. EXP share is absolutely non-negotiable. I think Resonant Guard and Focus Band are two good items. However, you could flex into a Muscle Band if you wanted to, a Buddy Barrier, even a attack weight or an Aeos Cookie if you wanted to play a little bit more carry. However, I think that Aeos Cookie is not the Aeos Cookie. The EXP share is absolutely non-negotiable, and the eject button is just such a fantastic item on this Pokemon. And you're going to see you get level 4 power spike. See the stats from level 3 to level 4. Your attack goes up by quite a chunk, but have a look at the HP. The HP goes up by about 800, which is an absolutely huge increase, and also his defenses, right? 144 and 115 go up to almost 200 and 160 respectively. This Pokemon will get some cooldown reduction at level 5, and then it gets some more at level 9, I believe. It goes to 10%, and then generally your next spike is at level 13, but on your defenders and supporters, you don't necessarily get that. You probably should be level 11 or 12 by that Rayquaza fight. Alright, the other tank I would be getting on top of is Slowbro. Slowbro is very simple to use. Level 4 Power Spike, which is absolutely crazy. Again, your non-negotiable item on this Pokemon is your EXP share. Focus Band and Resonant Guard are two fantastic items. Guys, they don't have to be level 30 either, by the way. Other potential items is Curse Incense. You could also run a Aeos Cookie if you wanted to get some, some free stacks in when the time comes. You could run a Spoon as well if you wanted to get some additional special defense decreases onto the enemy. Now, Surf Amnesia are the two moves that I would personally use. Amnesia because you just get insane amount of tankiness and health back, guaranteed health back. Very, very good at defending your goal zones and providing tanking and vision for your team. And Surf just because it sticks the enemies in one area, and it's also very, very valuable. If you use the other skill is Scold. I know a lot of people rate Scold further onto Surf, but Scold does damage from a distance, whereas Surf you're getting up in their face and you're just doing a whole lot of tanking. The Unite move is absolutely pivotal. And again, you're going to see level 3 to level 4, you get a huge spike in HP, you get a huge spike in your defenses, and he also gets the cooldown reduction at level 4 in comparison to those other Pokemon get at level 5, so very, very valuable there. And then he gets his additional cooldown reduction at level 9, and then there is nothing further from that point on. So you want to be about level 11 or level 12 at the Rayquaza fight. Guys, Slowbro, bottom lane is absolutely fantastic pick. All right, let's move on to our mages. Espeon is, in my opinion, the #1 pick in the bottom lane. He gets a great power spike at level 4. I would be running this Pokemon with Stored Power and Psybeam. Stored Power is the mobility that you need with the mage in your SoloQ games. It also slows down the enemy, so it has quite good... It's quite effective when you're hitting the enemies, honestly. The downside with it is that it's got really poor secure, so you're level 4 to level 6, you've got bad secure in lane, so you have to play accordingly. However, your secure from level 1 to level 4 with Swift is fantastic, and you get Psybeam at level 6, and this move does a whole bunch of damage. This is the skill you use to secure farm. I would be running this with a Slick Spoon and Energy Amp. These are your two non-negotiables in my opinion, and then you want to be using... Honestly, you could use Choice Specs, you could use Wise Glasses. I wouldn't opt for stacking specs. You could potentially use Shell Bell if you wanted additional cooldown reduction, but I'm not a huge fan of that. The eject button is absolutely the item you need to be running, and you'll see, have a look at the spike from level 3 to level 4. The special attack goes up an immense amount, which is fantastic. You get that cooldown reduction at level 5. He's almost got 10% at level 5 because of those items you've got, and as well as the emblems you could be using as well. And then you keep going along to level 9. You get a huge amount of cooldown reduction here at level 9, and you put this in addition with the potential blue buff you could get. It's absolutely crazy. And then he gets a further cooldown reduction at level 13. It's almost 30% cooldown reduction. Now, if you use this in combination with his Unite move and a blue buff, you are going to be spamming your skills late game, spamming them. So absolutely fantastic pick to play in the bottom lane would be Espeon as a mage. Pokemon I would consider as a mage in the bottom lane is Pikachu. Now, Pikachu is a fairly straightforward Pokemon. He doesn't have any level blocks. He can go straight to level 4 passively, and you get Thunder and Thunderbolt are your two skills. You keep Electro Web until level 6. Electro Web is a really annoying move in lane. You use that to lock an enemy in a position. Try not to hit the farm with Electro Web because it's got quite a large cooldown. You want to be hitting the enemies with this. Thunder Shock is a decent skill, but definitely outclassed by either Thunder or Electro Ball. I would be opting for Thunder, just because it's very beginner friendly and it does AoE damage, and then you get your Thunderbolt, which is AoE hindrance, which is fantastic. Now, I'd be running this, and this is honestly super flexible, this build. I go Slick Spoon, and I like just having Wise Glasses and Choice Specs do as much damage in the lane early as possible. Your other options is you could potentially use Shell Bell, you could potentially run an Energy Amp. I've seen people run it supportively with an EXP share, and that's totally effective depending on your matchup. I've seen people run it with Muscle Band, Focus Band, although Focus Band's a little questionable, even Resonant Guard to play a little bit more supportive with your team as well. However, this is probably the build I'd recommend maybe putting on a Energy Amp over the Wise Glasses. And I'd be running this Pokemon with an eject button because you need to be able to dash in and out of very tricky situations, as well as using your ult with the eject to dive onto the enemy is a very, very valuable thing to do. Now with Pikachu, you're pretty strong across the board. You don't get any huge power spikes up until about level 9, I believe. You can see the cooldown reduction is 5%. I believe that's at level 5. Yeah, level 5. And then it goes to 15% at level 9, that's when you get your Unite move, and then at level 13 you get 25%, which is great. And you can see at level 13 he's got a very high special attack stat. That's very, very high. So level 13 is the power spike, and that's the level you want to be going into the Rayquaza pit at. Let's move on to our top laners. First top laner that I would suggest is using Blastoise. He's a little tankier. He's very, very good in lane. He's got great mobility with Skull Bash and an eject button to be getting your stacks in, and awesome shoving with your water gun. It helps you and your teammate get some securing. Now, honestly, this item build can flex into both builds. If you want to make it additional flexy, you drop the stacking specs for a focus band. I think the Resonant Guard is a pretty solid item on him. However, you could just drop that for a straight up choice spec. So you could just go stacking specs to go full DPS, or you could run a focus band and be able to flex into both builds. That's the Hydro Pump Surf build or the Spin Spout. I would recommend Spin Spout so long as your team has another tank. That's the caveat there. Now, eject button, because eject button allows you to just be able to dive further with the rapid spin, and also your Unite move in eject button is a phenomenal play as well. You'll see that you get a level 5 power spike with this Pokemon because you evolve, so you don't want to get locked too badly there. It's more of a HP and defense increase there because remember, he is a defender. And then when you get to level 9, you get a big spike there. He gets the same cooldown reduction level 5 and level 9, and then I believe that is it for Blastoise because he is a defender. So very, very good there, right? You can see his stats there. If you've played this properly, if you're not running the EXP share, which I probably wouldn't on the top laning Blastoise, I'd do it on a defensive Blastoise, but not on our top laning carry Blastoise. Level 13 is your Rayquaza, because level 13 rapid spin, read it there. It says Blastoise gains a massive amount of defense and special defense for the duration of the spin. That's super valuable. Very, very valuable. So Blastoise is absolutely a Pokemon that I would be considering as a top lane carry. The other top laner is Mimikyu. Mimikyu is obnoxious with Shadow Claw and Shadow Sneak. This is a high skill cap Pokemon. Honestly, I'm still getting the knack of Mimikyu, and even when I play it well, and I'm not even that good at this character. So it just goes to show how strong Mimikyu can really be. Shadow Claw has got a really low cooldown, and it can just do such a great amount of damage. It gets execution as well on the plus, and I'll be running this with double stack and a Razor Claw. You just an absolute menace. If you can get your 6 stacks in early, you've got the Razor Claw as well. You can be very, very online at level 5 with this Pokemon. In the top lane, when you get that Shadow Claw, you can just be an absolute menace. So top lane, double stacking. You can see the crit rate. You've already got a bit with the Razor Claw there. And then you can see level 5 is your power spike. That's when you get your first skill. And that crit rate increases. That's very, very good with your Shadow Claw. And then further increases when you get to level 9. You can also see the lifesteal there as well. That's when you hit an auto attack, you get a percentage of your HP back. And then when you hit level 13, you get crit rate and 15% lifesteal, which is very, very good. Okay, now just to explain with Mimikyu, only his auto attacks will be able to critically strike, right? That's what it says there. And your other option is Play Rough over Shadow Claw, but personally I think just because the cooldown increased from Play Rough, I think Shadow Claw is definitely the skill that you want to be using. And your Unite move locks the enemy into a very, very tricky spot, and it also gives you nice shielding, cooldown reduction, and movement speed, which is very, very valuable. You get a big shield as well, right, when you use this Unite move. So you do this to engage on an enemy, and you are just going to be brawling pretty hardcore from there with your cooldown reduction for your Shadow Claw, your movement speed increase, and your shielding that you get, which is very, very good, right? Another thing is that every time you get a boosted auto, the third attack will strike twice, right, in an AoE. And the way that Shadow Claw works is that you'll see a little counter in the bottom corner. You can do up to 4 additional hits when you're auto attacking, right? So when you auto attack, it counts up to 4 and then it caps at 4, and it's got a little timer. So you keep attacking stuff with your autos, And then when you use Shadow Claw, if that Kappa is on 4 there, you will be doing additional hits with your Shadow Claw. So that's how you're going to be doing additional damage with Mimikyu. Now let's move on to our jungle picks. I've got 4 picks for the jungle. It would be Venusaur with Sludge Bomb and Solar Beam. I would be running, the build's honestly pretty straightforward with Venusaur. It's non-negotiable. Slick Spoon, Muscle Band, and Energy Amp. Right, you get insane level of cooldown reduction. Your Unite move absolutely pops off. You want to have as minimal cooldown reduction with your Solar Beam as possible, and you go an eject button, right? You know, for aggressive plays and also to be able to get out of situations defensively. Muscle Band, because his autos do quite a bit of damage, which is very, very good, and it helps you with your farming as well, and your boosted auto will stun the enemy, so you want to try and rip those out as much as possible. Honestly, the better skill is Giga Drain, but in SoloQ, I mean, it totally depends on your team comp, so I'm going to keep Sludge Bomb there, but honestly, Giga Drain is the better skill, in my opinion, with the Solar Beam, and yeah, Slick Spoon just for extra damage, right? You'll notice here at level 13, your Power Spike with Venusaur, have a look at the cooldown reduction, 30%, that's huge, and he's got a massive amount of special attack there. Now, one other thing I want to show with Venusaur, where's Venusaur, he's down here, is that when you use this Unite move, you get cooldown reduction, 30%. That is huge. So your cooldown reduction will be at 60%, and then you add that with your blue buff and your emblems, you are doing so much, like, you're going to be able to fire off solar beams, right? So you're also going to be level 13. Level 13, you reduce the cast time of your solar beam to like almost half a second, so it just launches off almost instantly, and it reduces the cooldown of the skill by 2 seconds. You can see level 12, 7.6 seconds, now it is 5.25 seconds. And with the amount of cooldown reduction you have, you know, just naturally here's 25%, that's already been integrated here. You apply your cooldown reduction from your Unite move and the blue buff, you're looking at like a 3.7 second cooldown on Solar Beam, which is ridiculous because you're just going to be able to launch those off, right? That's, you fire one off, hit them with the Unite move AoE, and then you look to finish you could finish a tank off. It does that much damage, right? So it's absolutely crazy. And as well as that, it does 10 ticks of damage, and it's really good at cleaning up tanks because look, it does 1.5% of the enemy's max HP, 5 ticks. So if you are landing your Solar Beam and you chunk the enemy for the entire time, that's 7.5% of their max HP. Just by so it's really, really good at ripping through tanks and doing big damage. So if you're trying to damage farm, you want to be hitting your Snorlaxes and your Blissies and stuff like that. Now the next pick is obviously Dragapult, right? Dragapult is dominating as an auto hitter in the jungler. These are my junglers that I would say are long range and probably lower skill cap than the other jungle picks. So Dragapult is pretty straightforward. You go Muscle Band, you go Scope Lens, and you've got the option of Rapid Fire Scarf or Charging Charm or even Razor Claw. Personally, I like Charging Charm just because I like the movement speed increase. I'm a bit of a sucker for some movement speed, but I'm going to keep on Rapid Fire Scarf just to keep it fairly traditional. And guys, use this Pokemon with an eject button. Stop getting greedy with the X attack. You're going to get such great value out of using the eject button to be able to reposition yourself, especially with the Phantom Force. So Phantom Force is very valuable. You'll see that every time you get a kill, your attack increases by 10. So that's better than the attack weight, right? So there's no point, like, you're better off getting a kill than going for a score with the attack weight. So very, very good skill. And when you kill someone, the move goes on cooldown. So it's like you can get some crazy resets and your attack speed just goes through the roof. So you want to have the Muscle Band, absolutely. It's a very good auto hitter. And Shadow Ball, just because you want to launch it off, and you get some good HP recovery, especially if you're hitting the farm, right? You hit it with a Shadow Ball, and then you get great HP recovery onto the farm, and it's good poke as well. You can hit through the bushes and stuff like that. So really, really good skill. Yeah, other options, Dragon Breath, but I just think Shadow Ball is the better one. And you can see level 5, you get additional crit rate, and you get lifesteal, and then level 9, you get even further crit rate. And you get great lifesteal, and at level 13 you see that crit rate doesn't actually go up any further, but you get great lifesteal there, and this is only for auto attacks, and yeah, fantastic for auto attacking this Pokemon. It's probably the best auto attacker in the entire game. You're going to be able to clean up and do very, very good work with Dragapult. It's a very straightforward Pokemon to use. Okay, now our final 2 picks for the jungle would be our diving Pokemon. These are Pokemon that you can dive and you can absolutely steamroll the game with. These are the Pokemon and the picks that you see the pros using time in and time out. The classic is Zoroark, famously. This is Overlord, absolutely dominates with this Pokemon and inspires everyone to try and use it on ladder. So you use Feint Attack and a Shadow Claw with this Pokemon. You take it essential area, attack weight, Razor Claw, and Focus Band would be the build that I would use. You could opt to get more damage if you wanted to go a Charging Charm or a Float Stone or even an Eos Cookie. A Weakness Policy is also an option as well. Yeah, those are the items that you could use, and you've got to use it with your full heal. You get a kind of a mini full heal every 15 seconds with his ability, Illusion, which is what makes this Pokemon extremely high skill cap. Shadow Claw will stun the enemy, and you want to engage extremely aggressively with this Pokemon with Feint Attack and get your combos off. Guys, this is a Pokemon I would still invest to learn, even though it's got a low win rate on the ladder. Honestly, because it's just super hard to use. It doesn't mean it's a bad Pokemon. It's incredibly hard to use. But if you get ahead with this Pokemon and your team knows how to play with you and you know how to engage on the enemies, you are going to just dominate, right? You're going to absolutely smash enemies. Now let's have a look at our power spikes with Zoroark. You get a good power spike at level 5. You can have a look at the attack increase there. It's almost 300 attack, and that's when you're going to the lane as a gank, and you've got great critical hit, and you've also got cooldown reduction as well, which is crazy, and you're going to have the blue buff. And then you go to level 9, further cooldown reduction, further critical hit rate, and then you get to level 13, which gives you... which actually doesn't give you a whole lot, really. It just keeps increasing your stats, right? Honestly, playing this Pokemon, you want to be level 14 or level 15 array. Preferably 14. 13's great, 13's on par, but 14 just means you're going to be able to steamroll and carry the game with this character. Now, the last Pokemon is Dodrio. Now, Dodrio is very flexible. You've got Peck and Quick Attack, your first 2 skills. This is super dependent on your matchup. The level 7 skill is, in my opinion, always going to be Jump Kick. You're always going to be running a full heal with this Pokemon, and you want to be using an attack weight. I would probably be running an Eos Cookie and also a Razor Claw. So very, very similar build to the Zoroark. This is your dive comp. Now, if the enemy has a lack of CC, which is very rare in Pokemon Unite, Drill Peck is by far the most incredible move you can have. This move is insanely good, right? Insanely good, especially when you get it to level 11. You are going to be healing, based on the damage that you deal. So if you hit a group of bees or if you hit a group of enemies, you can heal yourself all the way up to full, or even if you're getting damage through that Drill Peck, it's going to be like nothing happened. The alternative skill is Tri Attack. I would be using Tri Attack when the enemy has got a lot of CC if you dive in. So that is quite common, but Tri Attack is fantastic poke, and you can engage on the enemy pretty well. You can hit them with the Tri Attack. It does, quite a bit of damage. And then again, when you hit your level 11, you are going to be healing with your next boosted auto, which is 3% of your max HP. That's absolutely crazy, right? So I would probably recommend Drill Peck. However, you've got to be a little bit flexible with your matchup. So with your levels here with Dodrio, you hit level 5, you get critical hit rate, and then you hit level 9, you get further critical hit rate, and then that's pretty much it, right? He doesn't get any life steal, he doesn't get any cooldown reduction. Honestly, he really doesn't need it with the blue buff, especially with Jump Kick at level 13. It's such a good skill with the blue buff. Really, really good Pokemon. So yeah, I'd be using this build. I would be practicing with this Pokemon. It's incredibly high skill cap, up there with your Zoroark. But those guys are your 6 picks that I'd recommend using in this current patch of Pokemon Unite.